Have you ever noticed that some of the most caring people you know also seem to carry the heaviest fatigue? They are the ones who consistently show up, who offer a smile, and who rarely refuse a request for help. If you observe carefully, though, you can detect a deep weariness in their gaze. Behind their kindness, there is often something profound, heavy, perhaps even shadowed. We tend to think of kindness as a pure and simple virtue. We teach children to be kind. We admire leaders who show kindness. We measure our own humanity by how much compassion we extend to others. Yet, like everything complex in life, kindness carries a hidden side. Ignoring that hidden side, pretending it doesn't exist, can turn kindness into a destructive force. It all begins subtly. A child discovers that being nice and agreeable can earn them love. When they put others' comfort above their own needs, they are often rewarded with smiles, praise, or affection they might not have otherwise received. Over time, this lesson becomes deeply ingrained in their nervous system. Kindness becomes a strategy for survival. As they grow, it becomes harder to distinguish their true self from what others expect them to be. They become the dependable one, the person everyone sees as good, the friend who never complains. But here is a crucial truth. When kindness is forced, when it stems from fear of rejection or a desperate need to be valued, it is no longer genuine. It transforms into a mask, and masks, when worn for too long, suffocate the person beneath. Consider the endlessly kind people in your life. They will listen to your problems for hours. They help you move house. They lend money they cannot easily spare. They give up their rest just to make sure you are all right. At first, it appears noble, even saintly, but if you have ever been that person, living that role, you understand the hidden reality. Behind every act of self-sacrifice lies a quiet resentment, a small voice that whispers, "What about me?" Yet that voice often goes unheard, because chronic kindness carries an unspoken rule. You are not supposed to put your own needs first. Psychologists have studied this and have given it a name: compassion fatigue. It describes the state when someone gives so much care and empathy that they eventually exhaust themselves. Healthcare workers experience it, teachers experience it, and even parents can experience it. But it is not limited to professional roles. Everyday people who identify as kind souls are also at risk. Research shows that those who consistently prioritize others over themselves report higher anxiety, depression, and even physical health problems compared to those who maintain balance. Unchecked kindness can act as a self-eraser. This is the darker side of kindness. Without boundaries, kindness ceases to be true kindness. It subtly destroys the self. It is like watering every plant in the garden but neglecting your own roots. Eventually, the gardener collapses and the garden suffers as well. There is a more unsettling dimension too. Sometimes, kindness can unintentionally become a weapon, not in an obvious manipulative way, but in a quiet, unconscious manner. When you are known as the kind one, others begin to expect it. They rely on it and shape their behavior around it. Your constant generosity teaches them that your needs come second and your feelings are negotiable. Over time, people stop asking what you truly want because they assume you will always adapt to them. The kind individual ends up teaching the world to overlook them. This creates a paradox. The more kindness you show, the more invisible you become. And invisibility is not equivalent to peace. It is loneliness disguised as politeness. None of this suggests that kindness itself is harmful. Genuine kindness remains one of the most beautiful forces in the world. However, there is a difference between kindness that flows from abundance and kindness born from emptiness. One form heals, while the other slowly corrodes. One comes from love, the other comes from fear. Let's examine some research findings. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who struggle to say no, often those who identify as kind and agreeable, are significantly more prone to burnout. Another study from the University of Berkeley revealed that altruistic behavior improves well-being, but only when it is voluntary and genuine. If kindness is motivated by guilt, obligation, or fear of disappointing others, it has the opposite effect. It can actually reduce happiness and increase stress. Yet, many of us remain trapped in this cycle. We fear disappointing others, so we keep saying yes. We don't want to appear selfish, so we keep giving. We don't want to lose love, so we continue to sacrifice. But the cost of this endless generosity is enormous. Slowly, you lose connection with yourself. You may forget what you even want, because your identity has been built around serving others. You become a stranger in your own life. This is where the monster within emerges. Suppressing your needs, denying your anger, and burying your boundaries in the name of kindness does not make those emotions vanish. Instead, they gather in the shadows. They fester quietly. Eventually, they erupt in ways you cannot control. Maybe it's snapping at someone you care about over a small matter. Perhaps it is passive-aggressive comments or subtle resentment that slips out. Or, in some cases, it is a much darker explosion of years of repressed feelings, leaving you shocked at your own behavior. We like to believe that kindness shields us from darkness. In reality, kindness without honesty becomes the perfect breeding ground for it. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, every time you smile when you feel like crying, every time you withhold your truth to make others comfortable, you are not acting kindly. You are abandoning yourself. And abandonment always has consequences. So why do we do this? Why do kind people struggle so much with boundaries? The answer lies in culture. From early childhood, many of us are taught that kindness equals worthiness. Being agreeable seems safer than being authentic. Love appears to be earned by what we give, not by who we are. Children raised in conditional love environments, where affection is based on performance, obedience, or self-sacrifice, often carry these beliefs into adulthood. They grow into adults who confuse people-pleasing with true kindness. But real kindness does not erase the self. True kindness embraces the self. If your kindness comes at the expense of your mental health, joy, or energy, it is no longer kindness. At this point, kindness has become self-neglect disguised as virtue. And here is where education comes in. Neuroscience tells us about the mirror neuron system. It is what allows humans to experience empathy. When you witness someone's pain, your brain reacts as if it is your own. That is why kindness feels so natural to us. We are wired to connect with others. But here's the catch. Mirror neurons do not differentiate between healthy empathy and harmful empathy. Constantly exposing yourself to others' suffering without limits floods your brain with stress signals. Over time, this leads to chronic stress, immune system problems, and emotional exhaustion. In other words, the human brain is not built for limitless, boundaryless kindness. It is built for balanced connection. Therefore, the dark side of kindness is not that it is inherently bad. The danger lies in how fear, conditioning, culture, and unhealed wounds can distort it. Something that seems noble on the surface can slowly consume you from within. And when this occurs, what once seemed your greatest strength becomes the source of your breakdown. Let's pause to reflect. If you felt exhaustion, resentment, or invisibility, even though everyone calls you kind, you are not alone. You are not broken. You are not defective. What you feel is a natural response in a world that doesn't teach balance between giving and self-protection. This is the monster within, not because you are bad, but because suppressed truths demand to be acknowledged. This leads to the core question. How can we embrace kindness without letting it destroy us? How can we remain compassionate without turning into martyrs? How can we care for others without abandoning ourselves? The answer rests in a simple but uncomfortable truth. Kindness must start with you. Not in a selfish disregard for others, but in the sense that kindness must include yourself to be genuine. Otherwise, it is merely performance, and performance inevitably collapses. Consider the airplane's safety instructions. In an emergency, you are told to put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. At first, it seems almost wrong. Why not assist your child or loved one first? Yet the logic is undeniable. If you lose consciousness, you cannot help anyone. The same principle applies to kindness. Neglect your own needs, rest, and well-being, and your ability to truly care for others will suffocate. This is where boundaries come into play. For many kind people, boundaries feel frightening. They feel like rejection. They feel like selfishness. They feel like shutting people out. But in reality, boundaries are the purest form of honesty. A boundary communicates, "This is what I can offer, and this is what I cannot." It says, "My love is real, but it cannot exist if I am empty." It says, "I care enough to show my limits, because without them, my care will decay into resentment." Psychologists define boundaries as invisible lines marking where you end and another person begins. Without boundaries, relationships blur into dependency, manipulation, or silent suffering. With healthy boundaries, relationships become clear, mutual, and grounded in respect. In fact, research shows that those who honor their own limits experience deeper, more meaningful connections. Their kindness comes from choice, not obligation. And here's another insight. People who respect their boundaries are often seen as more trustworthy. Why? Because when they say yes, you know they truly mean it. Their kindness is genuine, not forced. Authenticity naturally attracts people. But there's a challenge. Setting boundaries is not just about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to yourself. For someone who equates worth with selflessness, this can feel uncomfortable. It may even feel like betraying the very identity admired by others. You might lose relationships along the way. Some people won't appreciate your refusal to overextend. Others might push back, accuse you of changing, or withdraw. That can be painful. Yet it's necessary, because relationships built on endless giving were never truly balanced. Let's explore the psychology further. There's a concept called pathological altruism. It occurs when the desire to help actually causes harm, either to yourself or others. For example, sacrificing your health to care for someone else, or constantly rescuing someone, preventing their independence. Pathological altruism looks like kindness, but creates dependency, guilt, and exhaustion. It is, literally, kindness gone wrong. This ties into a larger cultural idea, the myth of the good person. Many societies glorify kindness as the highest virtue, but often they subtly encourage self-erasure. Consider phrases like, "She's such a good girl, she never causes trouble," or "He's such a nice guy, he always helps everyone." Hidden in these compliments is a dangerous assumption. Goodness means never demanding, never saying no, never disrupting the peace. True goodness, however, is not about erasing yourself. It is about showing up fully as your authentic self while choosing compassion. When kindness comes from authenticity, it liberates. When it comes from fear, it enslaves. So, how can we practically shift from enslaved kindness to liberated kindness? Here are some strategies. Not quick fixes, but lifelong practices. First, practice the pause. When someone asks something of you, don't automatically say yes. Take a breath. Give yourself a moment to check in with your needs. Ask, do I have the energy for this? Do I want to do this? Is this aligned with my values? Even a few seconds of reflection can prevent automatic people-pleasing. Second, learn the power of gentle no. A refusal doesn't have to be harsh. It can be kind and compassionate. For example, I care about you, but I can't take this on right now. Or, I'd love to help, but I don't have the capacity at the moment. The world won't collapse if you say no. In fact, the more honest you are, the more people will respect your yes. Third, reframe your sense of worth. Your value isn't measured by how much you give away. Your value is intrinsic. You existed before anyone needed anything from you, before you learned to perform kindness to survive. You deserve love even when you say no, even when you take rest, even when you refuse to carry extra burdens. Fourth, tend to your own garden. Surround yourself with things that nourish your soul. Engage in friendships that energize you. Pursue creative outlets. Embrace moments of stillness. When you operate from abundance, not scarcity, kindness flows naturally. It's effortless. It doesn't drain you. It becomes a gift, not a transaction. Fifth, allow yourself to feel difficult emotions. Anger, frustration, sadness. These are not enemies of kindness. They are signals. They alert you when boundaries are crossed. They indicate when your needs are ignored. Suppress them, and they turn into the monster within. But acknowledge them. Listen to them. They guide you toward balance. Let's return to the mask metaphor. For many, kindness is a lifelong mask. The smile hiding exhaustion, the yes avoiding conflict, the generosity performed to prove worth. Masks are heavy. The longer you wear them, the harder it is to remember your own face. The real journey isn't abandoning kindness, it's removing the mask. Let kindness emerge from the real you. The you who can say yes and no honestly. The you who is kind without disappearing. There's an old saying, to know who you truly are, watch how you treat yourself when no one's looking. Authentic kindness begins there, not in others' approval, not in praise for being nice, but in quiet choices for your own well-being. Do you rest when tired? Do you forgive yourself for mistakes? Do you treat yourself with compassion? If not, your kindness to others rests on a fragile foundation. Here's the irony. When you practice true self-kindness, your kindness toward others grows stronger. It doesn't deplete you. It comes from abundance, not emptiness. It inspires rather than exhausts. It encourages others to rise with you, not lean on you endlessly. Perhaps that's the final lesson. The dark side of kindness isn't rejecting kindness. It's transforming it, from a mask into a mirror, from compulsion into choice, from survival into love. So next time someone praises your kindness, pause. Ask yourself, does this kindness come from fear or freedom? From exhaustion or abundance? From the mask or the real me?